Love beyond thrones. In a continent rich with kingdoms, traditions, ambition, and destiny, two extraordinary souls rose like twin flames beneath the African sun. One was Madiba, a brilliant strategist from southern Africa whose name became known in politics, diplomacy, and humanitarian leadership. The other was Amina, a fearless Ethiopian-Nigerian architect and military historian whose innovations transformed ancient African heritage into modern greatness. Both were powerful. Both were admired. Both carried scars hidden behind greatness. Neither expected love. Madiba was born into hardship in a small community where poverty and political instability shaped the lives of many. From childhood, he displayed wisdom beyond his years. While other boys played by dusty roads, Madiba spent nights studying leadership, economics, and African history beneath kerosene lamps. As he grew older, he became a respected public speaker, a negotiator for peace, a successful entrepreneur, a defender of African unity. By age 38, Madiba had founded educational foundations across multiple African nations and was invited to international conferences around the world. But power came with loneliness. Though surrounded by people, he trusted very few. Amina was born between the cultural roots of northern Nigeria and the ancient highlands of Ethiopia. Named after the legendary warrior Queen of Zazzau, she inherited fierce determination from her mother and intellectual brilliance from her father. Amina became globally known for restoring forgotten African historical sites and transforming them into centers of tourism, education, and economic growth. Her projects attracted kings, presidents, scholars, and investors. But beneath her elegant appearance lived a woman hardened by betrayal and struggle. She disliked arrogant men, especially powerful men. Their first meeting happened during a Pan-African Development Summit in Addis Ababa. Madiba proposed a modernization project near historical regions that Amina fiercely protected. During a televised panel discussion, Amina publicly challenged him. "You speak of development," she said coldly, "but many men like you erase culture in the name of progress." The hall became silent. Madiba replied calmly, "And many intellectuals romanticize poverty while ordinary people suffer." The tension exploded across social media and news outlets. For months, interviews became battlegrounds. Their followers argued online. Political leaders took sides. African media turned them into rivals. Neither realized fate had already tied their stories together. The misunderstanding deepened when a leaked document falsely suggested Madiba planned to demolish one of Amina's protected heritage zones. Heartbroken and furious, Amina launched a legal battle against his organization. Madiba, believing Amina wanted to destroy his reputation, retaliated through political pressure. Their conflict became continental news. Yet secretly, both admired each other's intelligence and courage. Madiba admired that Amina feared no man. Amina admired that Madiba remained composed even under attack. Still, pride kept them apart. Months later, investigations uncovered the truth. A corrupt international corporation had manipulated documents to divide them and gain access to valuable land resources. When the conspiracy was exposed, both Madiba and Amina felt ashamed. They met privately for the first time beside an ancient Ethiopian monastery. "I judged you too quickly," Amina admitted quietly. Madiba smiled faintly. "And I fought you because you challenged my pride." For hours they talked. About leadership. About loneliness. About sacrifice. About Africa's future. About the pain hidden behind success. That night changed everything. Their friendship slowly became love. They traveled together across African nations, restoring schools, building innovation centers, protecting cultural heritage, funding young entrepreneurs. For the first time in years, both found peace in someone who truly understood ambition and sacrifice. Madiba once told her, "You are the only battle I'm grateful I lost." Amina laughed before replying, "And you are the only man stubborn enough to survive my anger." Their wedding took place beside the flowing waters of the legendary Blue Nile River in the Ethiopian highlands. The ceremony blended traditions from across Africa. Hausa royal drummers, Ethiopian cultural dancers, South African choirs, golden lanterns floating across the river. World leaders, artists, scholars, and villagers gathered beneath moonlit skies to witness the union. Amina wore a royal ivory gown embroidered with ancient African symbols. Madiba stood in regal black attire with gold embroidery representing unity and strength. As the Nile flowed beside them, they exchanged vows. Madiba said, "I searched the world for peace only to find it in your eyes." Amina replied softly, "And I fought the world until love taught me surrender." The crowd erupted with joy. Years later, Madiba and Amina became symbols of unity, reconciliation, African excellence, love beyond conflict. Together they built universities, heritage foundations, leadership academies, peace initiatives across Africa. Their story became legendary, not because they never fought, but because they chose love after the storm. Across the vast lands of Africa, ancient kingdoms whispered through broken walls, forgotten languages, stolen artifacts, and abandoned monuments. The drums of history were fading. Sacred libraries burned by time. Bronze sculptures hidden in foreign museums. Ancient cities swallowed by neglect. Traditional wisdom replaced by greed and division. Yet somewhere, destiny was preparing two souls to awaken a continent. One carried the wisdom of diplomacy. The other carried the fire of warriors. Their names were Madiba and Amina. And together, they would begin a movement powerful enough to shake the world. Madiba had already become one of Africa's most influential reformers. After years of building schools, technology hubs, and economic programs across the continent, he realized something deeper. Africa was losing its identity. Foreign corporations mined African resources while African history disappeared. Young people knew foreign heroes but not their own ancestors. Sacred traditions were mocked as outdated. Madiba believed economic freedom meant nothing without cultural pride. So he launched a bold initiative called the African Heritage Restoration Alliance. Its mission was to recover stolen African artifacts, restore ancient cities and monuments, preserve endangered languages, build cultural museums, reintroduce African history into schools. But powerful forces immediately opposed him. Amina had become famous for restoring forgotten African heritage sites from Nigeria to Ethiopia. She studied ancient architecture, African spirituality, and lost kingdoms. Unlike politicians, Amina believed Africa's greatest treasure was not oil or gold. It was memory. Her restoration projects revived ancient Hausa walls, Nubian pathways, Ethiopian monasteries, sacred desert manuscripts. But many elites mocked her efforts. History cannot feed the people, they told her. Still, she refused to stop. When Madiba invited her to join the Heritage Alliance, she initially rejected him. She believed politicians only used culture for popularity. But fate had already begun weaving their paths together. Everything changed after a shocking archaeological discovery in northern Sudan. Researchers uncovered evidence of an ancient African knowledge archive hidden beneath ruined temples connected to several early African kingdoms. The discovery threatened powerful international interests. If revealed fully, it could rewrite world history, prove advanced African civilizations existed centuries earlier than acknowledged, expose stolen historical narratives, shift global cultural influence. Suddenly, foreign corporations became interested. Smugglers entered the region. Political agents began interfering. Madiba realized the situation was bigger than preservation. It was war over identity. Not all enemies came from outside Africa. Some African politicians secretly sold historical artifacts for personal wealth. Some traditional leaders feared losing power. Some business elites wanted ancient lands destroyed for mining contracts. Worst of all, someone inside Madiba's organization leaked confidential locations of protected sites. One restored temple in Mali was burned overnight. Ancient manuscripts disappeared. Researchers were attacked. The media blamed Madiba and Amina for mismanaging the project. Trust began collapsing. The pressure destroyed their growing friendship. Amina accused Madiba of allowing corrupt politicians near the alliance. Madiba accused Amina of acting alone without understanding political realities. During a heated argument in Cairo, Amina shouted, "You want to save Africa while dining with the same men destroying her." Madiba slammed his hand against the table. "And you think passion alone can fight governments and billion-dollar corporations?" The room fell silent. For weeks they stopped speaking. Meanwhile, sabotage intensified. Another cultural site was attacked. Ancient bronze artifacts vanished into the black market. Africa was bleeding again. An elderly Ethiopian monk named Abune Sarai secretly approached Amina. He revealed that centuries ago, African kingdoms created hidden alliances to preserve sacred knowledge during invasions and colonial destruction. Before his death, the monk handed Amina an ancient map leading to hidden archives connected across Africa. But the final location could only be opened through symbols preserved in multiple kingdoms. Amina realized she could not solve the mystery alone. Reluctantly, she sought Madiba again. When they reunited, neither apologized immediately. But both understood, Africa needed them together. Madiba and Amina traveled across the continent gathering lost symbols and ancient records. Their journey took them through the pyramids of Egypt, ancient Hausa territories in Nigeria, desert libraries in Mali, sacred Ethiopian mountains, ruined kingdoms near the Nile. But enemies hunted them constantly. Mercenaries attacked convoys. Politicians attempted arrests. Media campaigns branded them extremists. Yet ordinary Africans began supporting them. Young people volunteered. Villagers protected sites. Artists revived ancient music and languages. A cultural awakening had begun. The final archive lay hidden beneath caves near the Blue Nile River. On the night they reached the site, armed mercenaries arrived working for an international syndicate seeking to seize the archive. Chaos erupted. Madiba led villagers and guards in defending the entrance while Amina decoded ancient inscriptions inside the cave. Explosions shook the mountains. Gunfire echoed near the Nile. Rain poured from dark skies. Finally, the archive chamber opened. Inside were ancient African scientific records, philosophical writings, royal histories, maps of trade empires, knowledge preserved for generations. The truth could no longer be buried. Madiba and Amina released the discoveries publicly to the world. Museums returned stolen artifacts. African history programs expanded globally. Cultural tourism transformed economies. Young Africans rediscovered pride in their heritage. Universities across Africa began teaching restored histories once erased or ignored. Madiba and Amina became known as the guardians of the African crown. Not rulers of kingdoms, but protectors of memory. After years of struggle, betrayal, sacrifice, and victory, Madiba and Amina stood together beside the flowing Nile in Ethiopia. The same river that witnessed wars now witnessed peace. Madiba looked at Amina and smiled softly. "We fought the world to protect Africa." Amina held his hand gently. "And somewhere along the battle, we found each other." As drums echoed beneath African stars, a new generation rose behind them. A generation ready to remember who they truly were.